Hello YouTube. Just thought I'd take a moment to introduce new viewers to the inverter cooking system. If you really want to know the background of it and the very basics, basically detailed information on how to hook everything up, how I ended up setting everything up to this current point right here, you'll want to watch the Cooking with Denoy playlist, or the Build of Little Blue 2 has everything. But essentially, I cook using an inverter, which gives me like 120 volts, like a house current. So you can cook with normal house appliances. Now, the appliances have a rating of number of watts. Usually they rate it like 300 watts, 1,000 watts, 1,200 watts. And that means it requires at least that much wattage to work. So the size of the inverter you want to get depends on the wattage that's required by the equipment you want to use. Now, the more watts that a device requires, the larger the inverter is going to have to be, and also the faster the power draw from the battery. So there's kind of a compromise. And an inverter, even when it's not being used, does pull power from the battery. So you want to go with the smallest inverter that you need for your needs. Like, for example, in my cases, I have here on my extra portable battery pack here, which I'll explain here later, a 750 watt inverter. For the primary house system, the house meaning the van itself here, I have also a 750 watt, an older one. This is, I think, a Schumacher, and this one's a Never Start. They're both 750 watts, and the reason I settled on 750 watts is because the highest rated appliance that I plan on using on here is approximately 700 watts, which is like a jigsaw or a small drill. Most of the time, what I would be using on here is simply a small rice cooker. One of those little, I think it's a 6-cup rice cooker or 3-cup rice cooker. It's the smallest one that they sell at Walmart and on Amazon and whatnot. And the one that I use is actually this one right here. I got this one here. It's the Aroma from Walmart. And basically, you see how they show that you can cook all these things inside the rice cooker: eggs, all sorts of meat dishes, soups, anything basically, in addition to rice. This thing right here only runs like about $15, $14.95 or something like that, $14.98 at Walmart, and it only requires 300 watts. How you can tell how many watts something requires is usually on the bottom of it. Now, this is the older unit that I've kind of retired for now. On the bottom of the equipment, it'll say, like here, it says Aroma rice cooker, model number, whatever. 120 volts, 300 watts, 60 hertz. So that means that running off 120 volts, this thing requires 300 watts. So that means the minimum size inverter that I have to use to run this rice cooker is 300 watts. So I could have gotten away if I was just going to use a rice cooker with a 300 watts, but that's kind of maxing it out. So I would recommend at least a 350 to 400 watt inverter if you're just simply going to use it to run a rice cooker to cook. Now, you don't need to have an elaborate setup like this. The only thing you really need is the inverter itself. And generally, if an inverter will do 300-400 watts, they come with these. Okay, these things will allow you to hook one end up. Now, this one I've removed the tip here, but they have a tip that goes onto this. The black goes to black and the red goes to red. And what it does is it allows you to clip like the red from the inverter to the red on your vehicle battery, on your car or van battery, and the black to the black. And what that does is it allows the inverter, this device here, to pull electricity from the battery, the car battery. It'll pull it from the car battery and turn 12 volts into 120 volts so you can cook with it. But the problem is when you're pulling out 300 watts or more, this battery will die within 1 or 2 minutes. So to keep that from happening, to do that, you have to start your vehicle up, and your alternator here from your car actually makes electricity, and it'll send the electricity right up through here to the battery. And if you have the inverter hooked up right here directly at the battery where the alternator is charging the battery, the power from the alternator there actually goes first into it kind of gets split. It goes into the inverter, which converts it to 120 volts. So you're not using up your battery power. You know, most alternators generate more electricity than is needed by that inverter. So the inverter will convert the power to 120 volts so you can use it to cook and not kill your vehicle battery. That's the very simplest setup. And if you watch a lot of the earlier episodes where I set up Little Blue 2, you can do that and have a cooking system without even having a vehicle house battery system. When I say a house battery system, I'm talking about a second battery inside your van or RV or whatever. And what it does is it's designed to run equipment inside the vehicle without affecting this battery, the vehicle battery, because you need this to start your vehicle. You don't want it to drain down and then your car or van won't run. So at the very basics, you could probably buy like a $30 inverter, 450 watt inverter, $40 from Walmart, and a $15 rice cooker. So for under $50, you can have an inverter cooking system. Now, on some of my initial builds and tests experiments, I had the inverter actually installed in here, a smaller inverter, and I ran 120 volts from here inside the vehicle, and you can cook from inside the vehicle. So you can do that, but you know, wiring is kind of an issue. You kind of have to go under and around and whatnot. And that's the very basics, and I would recommend doing that and getting that ready just in case you have things like hurricanes and other natural disasters where you have no electricity at all. You'll at least have the ability to generate 120 volts, and you can use that for cooking. If you're planning on running larger devices, you might want an inverter that's rated at like 1500 watts, 1500 watts. For me, I went with 750 because that's more than adequate for my needs. If I was getting a tiny home or building a tiny house, I might get one that's about 2,000 watts, 1,500 to 2,000 watts, maybe more, depending on whether I want to try to run air conditioning on it. And that's the basics of inverter cooking. Now, if you want to get a little bit more complicated, then you want to set up like a dual battery system. And in that case, you have sorry about that, trying to film out here on the street, cars and stuff come by. But anyhow, if you're trying to set up a dual battery system, you have your vehicle battery, which you don't want to use for more than really just starting your vehicle. And then what you have to do is you have to run a line. Now, I ran a line here from this positive all the way to the back. And what I did was I put in a fuse here, so if the draw is too great, I think it's a 20 or 30 amp fuse, it'll blow. And then I have to replace the fuse. That's designed to just disconnect the two systems if there's like a short somewhere. And I'm not going to go into detail on how that was set up because that was already explained in detail on previous videos on the Cooking with Denoy series as well as the van build. So you want to watch that playlist if you want to see how all this was put together. But essentially I've run a line down here and underneath the vehicle. And I hooked it up here to a house switch. I know a lot of people said you shouldn't use a house switch because it's not really designed for 12 volts DC. It's designed for 120 volts. Well, I had went through 3 or 4 different 12 volt switches and they kept melting. So I decided to go ahead and try just a regular house switch right here. And you can see that it's lasted now probably about 2 years without any issues. Even though I had all sorts of people tell me there would be problems. This was like $1.20, $1.50 from Walmart or Home Depot, and you can even put in one of those fancy little pretty ones, but I just went with basics and cheap. But you can see the power line, the 12 volt line that I pull from the vehicle battery comes down to here, then it goes to the switch, and right now it's off, so the systems are disconnected. And when I have it on off, that means this battery system here is not tied into that battery system. And the significance of that is this: when I have it disconnected, I can pull power to run my devices and stuff, my laptop, my whatever, chargers, my phone, from these batteries instead of that one over there, the one inside the engine bay, because we don't want to drain that battery and have it go dead on us. But the reason you have the switch here to connect the two, and some people use what's called a battery isolator. It's like an automatic switch, and they install that underneath the hood area there. And what it does is it disconnects the two batteries when it's not charging or when the power runs low. In my case, I just went cheap and simple. I have a manual switch where I can connect and disconnect at will. So I have the system right now disconnected, and that means the two batteries are isolated. One battery is up there and one battery is down here. And if you look at it right now, this gets complicated. Ignore the second battery system right now, because this is a third add-on, which I'll be showing people why I built this and how it can be used and how I try to make it simple for hooking up and portability and whatnot. But basically this system right here, this blue system with the black inverter on top here, is my house battery system. This third system here, don't worry about it, is a portable battery pack. So I run the line from there, okay, and I come straight up from there to the inverter. And the reason I went straight up from that switch up to the inverter is because I want the power from the front when the alternator is running, when the car is running and the alternator is charging. I want that electricity to go straight to that battery and then straight on back to the inverter here. I don't want to hook it up to the house battery. And the reason I don't want to do that is when I turn on this inverter, it has a huge power draw. And what I found when I tried to get fancy and I wired it to the house battery, and then from the house battery to the inverter, I drained out my house battery. I was killing my house batteries. The battery power kept going low, and it took me a long time to figure out what was wrong. What was wrong was the power from the alternator was not charging the house battery, the vehicle, the house battery, the RV portion of the camper here, was not charging fast enough. So by running it directly to the inverter, when the vehicle's running, even if I don't have the house battery hooked up, I can still cook. Yeah, this battery system's not even important for cooking, because the power will actually come from the front battery and the alternator, which is charging it up more than fast enough. At least it seems to be so far. So once you hook that up here, you can run your for the ground. You take another cable and you run it from the inverter to the chassis, the metal portion of your vehicle. And I just ran the line and screwed it in, and that gives you a complete circuit. Now, that would allow you to hook up a 12 volt line that comes back here to a switch that goes up to the inverter, and then you take the negative, the black, and ground it to the vehicle. You have an inverter cooking system that's mounted on the inside instead of underneath your hood. Now, to make it more useful, you can hook up a battery, and in this case I have like a 12 volt RV battery in here. I don't know if you can see that 12 volt Everstart RV battery. And what I did was I simply take that and I hooked this inverter up to it. And you say, well, why would you want to do that? Well, I want to do that so that this inverter can run 120 volt appliances without being connected to that other battery. Now, the thing is, if I tried to run the rice cooker on this battery system without the alternator charging it up, what would happen is this battery would die in about 2 to 3 minutes. It would lose all its juice, and the battery would basically be destroyed. So, and when I say destroyed, I mean it won't hold a charge anymore. So what I do is I simply hook this up here, and it allows the system to charge that battery and this battery when the switch here is turned on and the two systems are connected. And that allows both batteries to act almost like one. The power is actually mostly coming from the alternator to cook the food. This isn't necessary. This is just to show you the clip. But anyhow, and that's pretty much it. Now, when I run the power from here on up here, what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling 12 volts from my house battery up to the inverter. And that means I can pull 12 volts from here to power like this multi-USB port. And with the multi-USB port, I can plug in my fans. Like I have 3 fans here. I can also have a USB charger. In addition, there's a USB charger built into the inverter. And I have an extra plug here that I built onto the top. So I have like, I think the USB chargers here on the end of this one, although I could have one with just 2 outlets like I do in this case. 2 outlets there. No, actually that one has USB and regular 12 volt. And then I have 3 more 12 volts. That allows me to run 12 volt devices directly off the system here. Now to show you what happens when I turn on the switch, okay? If I first have this on, let's make sure this is disconnected. You see that's disconnected. And then I turn this on. You're gonna see, it says 0 right now. I'm gonna show what the battery charge looks like. The battery says 12.4. That's what this battery is currently at. Now, a fully charged battery will usually show 12.8 or higher, like 12.8, 12.9, 13, 13.1, 13.2, maybe as high as 13.4. But usually a fully charged 12 volt battery shows 12.8. And you never really want the battery to go down below 12.1. Once it goes down to below 12.1 on the reading here, your battery may not be doing so well, and it can die and not work. It can not hold a charge anymore. So keep your eye on this power level of the 12 volt battery. It should stay at 12.1 or higher. If it drops down below 12.1, you really need to disconnect because battery's dying at that point. So right now it says 12.4, and the reason it says 12.4 is that's what this battery holds. Now when I turn on the system here, I'll start my car up, my van up here, you'll see that the vehicle is running, but yet this says 12.4 still. And you're like, why is that? Well, when I started the vehicle up, the alternator is charging and sending electricity to this battery. And my plug here is sending it down through to this switch. But we don't have the switch turned on yet. So you can see without the switch turned on, my house battery says 12.4. But if I turn the switch on is up in how I mounted it, you'll see it now says 12.7. And the reason it's saying 12.7 and actually went up to 12.8, 12.7 is the electricity from the engine there, from the alternator, is going through that battery and the cable there and sending it back down through there, through the switch, which is now connected, and coming here, and at this point, it is charging this battery. So that's how I can charge my system without a solar panel. And in a case of a little van like this and the little power I need, I don't really need to mount a solar panel up here. I think that would cause my van to lose its stealth, look, and also it's just additional money. It's like anywhere from $200 to $600, and I don't really need it. You might use it if you're like off grid and you don't want to run your vehicle to charge it. But if you're urban stealth camping like I am, you're driving your vehicle all the time. Why not take advantage of the free electricity that your car or van generates and use that to cook, as well as charge up your house battery? You can see now it's going 12.8, 12.9. What that means is this system is starting to charge up. And basically that's how you charge up your house battery system, using the alternator and the vehicle, battery system, right, that charges the vehicle battery to charge up your house battery. So this will go to 12.9 and eventually up to about 13.2, 13.4, which means it's fully charged. Now what I did that makes this a little bit more complicated for those of you who have watched previous little Bluetooth videos on the power system, I have added a new battery pack. The second battery pack was designed to be pretty much this unit, but portable. So inside here, I don't even have an expensive battery. I have just a regular cheapo value power Walmart 12 volt automotive battery. And that's what I'm using because it's light, it was small, it was $49. Versus this one, which was about $100. The RV battery was about $100. This one was only $49. And I figured, I want something light, I want something cheap. And I built the battery pack using this case, which is about $9. I bought an inverter for about $49, 750 watts. And I bought a plug here that connects to 12 volt DC, and another one that can plug into this one to give me 3 extra ports there. And what this allows right here is me to have this unit here self-contained. It's like the $120, $115 power pack that they sell at Walmart, or $100, whatever it is. The Schumacher, you know, it has an inverter and everything, but this one goes up to 750 watts. Theirs only goes up to, I think, 200 watts, maybe 150 watts. So this one will power everything. Now the thing is, if you try to cook rice on this, you're gonna run out of battery power in about 3 minutes. So it's not really useful for cooking, but it is useful for running power tools. Like you could run a jigsaw on it, possibly a cordless drill, if it doesn't pull more than 700, 750 watts. Now, how long you can run the device, it depends on how much the power draw it has and, you know, how much it uses. I've actually used this in the field doing a project here, which I may share with you guys here on regular YouTube. It is videos going up on the Patreon channel just to show people the power pack in action and why I created it. But this power pack allows me to run power tools out in remote locations, not all day long, but maybe enough for, you know, doing what I need to for that day. Then it needs to be charged up. To charge this up, you obviously have to supply it with 12 volt charging, which you can do through a house charging system, or you can go through the vehicle alternator. I'm sorry for all that noise, but you can go through the vehicle alternator and charge it just like you do the regular house battery system. Okay, hopefully the lawnmower guy will not come back by here again for a while, or it's going further away. But so you can charge this second house battery system, no, not house battery, this portable house battery system, the same way you charge the vehicle house battery system. So what I did in this case was I took 12 volts here. This is the 12 volt coming in from the vehicle, from the alternator, and I ran it here to this inverter here, which is hooked up to the battery to charge it. Now, to make it easier to connect and disconnect, I put in this little quick disconnect right here. See how that is? And they sell these, but I got this from a battery pack or something that I no longer needed, and I just salvaged it by cutting the tips, you know, the line off. It was a quick charge system. So what I did was I went ahead and made my own little quick charge disconnect. Let me disconnect it to show you here. I don't know if I can do it one-handed here, but so you see, so it's disconnected right now. And now this battery is isolated, and I can actually take this whole unit out and take it to do whatever I need to do. And when I need it charged up, I just plug it into this system, which now is saying 13 because it's almost full. I'm going to show you what this battery looks like now. You can see that the system says 12.5 is what this charges inside this battery, so it's not fully charged. But if I plug this in, you'll see that it starts to charge back up. Let me find the plug here and try to get this in. I'm going to try to do this single-handedly here. A little difficult to do it with one hand. Didn't design it for one-handed, but alright, so we lined it up, we plug it in. I plugged it in, and you can see now this says 12.6. It is charging up slowly. And this, of course, dropped back down because we're pulling the 12 volts that we're creating with the car running right now. That's going through this whole system. It's pulling some to charge this battery, and it's pulling some to charge this one, which now says 12.7. That doesn't mean the battery is at 12.7 right now. It just means how much voltage is actually going through the system right now, and it's slowly charging my batteries up. So the house battery is being charged. The portable battery is being charged, and that is currently how the system is set up for Little Blue 2. Now for cooking, I actually have a 120 volt here extension cord that goes down there to my rice cooker. I don't even see it down there. But that's where I cook my rice and meats and steaks and everything else that I eat. I just plug it into here, turn the system on, turn on the rice cooker, and it's cooking, which you can watch on the Cooking with Denoy playlist, where you get to see me cook in the vehicle and I show how the system works. It all still works the same way, but now I have this extra battery pack that I can use, that can be used, and when I drive around I charge the systems up. A little bit of warning about batteries and charging them in a car like this. These are both lead acid battery, and what happens when you charge a battery is it creates gases that can actually explode and maybe even be poisonous. So this isn't really the safest thing that you could do. What you want to do is kind of vent your batteries and have them charge and have the air on the outside, you know, the gases go outside. I didn't bother doing that because I generally drive with my windows. My rear windows are always open. Here you can see, well, you know, it kind of went down here. But typically I have it open with the vents like this. So they're always open. And I drive, because my air conditioning doesn't work, I drive with my windows down. And the air blows through and blows the gases out. Although sometimes you can smell it. You can smell kind of a sulfury smell. So I can, when I do that, I open the window even more. And sometimes I'll turn off the switch so that the battery's no longer charging. Because when it charges, the battery gets hot. I think the acid and stuff boils inside. I'm not 100% sure. But it releases gases. So, like right now, if I was charging it with the door open like this, there's no problem. There's more than adequate ventilation. So that's the one warning I will give you. If you have a little bit more money, you could spend some money on what they call AGM batteries. AGM batteries are like, they have like a glass mat inside instead of liquid. And there's like a gel, I think, that carries the electricity, the electrolytes or whatever. And it's a little bit safer. It doesn't release as much gas, if any, and has less chance of exploding on you than lead acid. It doesn't produce the gases, or at least as much gas, while charging as these do. So that is the recommended battery system to use for a house battery system, is AGM batteries. Maybe even lithium-ion now, but they're still kind of expensive, lithium-ion batteries. But AGM batteries are probably maybe 50 to 75% more than regular batteries. So comparable battery to this might cost me $150 to $250 if I was getting it as an AGM. I opted for cheap because I don't have a lot of money. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and end this. But if you watch the Cooking with Denoy episodes and also the Build of Little Blue 2 and all the different bands, you will see how a system like this was put together piece by piece. You're watching the current system right now, which has the normal cooking system as well as this addition of a second battery pack. And, you know, like if I turn off the system, then these two batteries connected like this act as one. So I have like twice the number of amp hours available. But usually I'll disconnect the two because once this one's charged, I want to keep it charged for using for my projects where I take the battery pack outside of the vehicle and I carry around 120 volts of power to allow me to run power equipment. So until next time, everybody, I hope you are all staying safe. I hope you found this video informational. And feel free to comment. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and help share this channel. If you'd like to support this channel and my efforts, please check out my Patreon page. There are some more videos on there. I am doing some Patreon exclusives, and I will be running some of the Patreon videos on the regular YouTube channel, but currently giving patrons a first view, and that's pretty much it. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you stay safe. God bless you all. Take care now.